Alrighty, well, hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting interview in the Future Proof Your Law Firm group. Super excited to have Justin Stivers here today from the Probate Law Firm. Justin, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so why don't you start off by giving us a little bit of an intro in who you are, what your law firm specializes in, and kind of what you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, thank you. So Justin Stivers, owner, founder of the probate law firm, probatefirm.com, based out of Miami, Florida. And we do what the name sounds. We do probate law, estate administration, guardianships, really all things from when a person is alive, preparing for wealth preservation, making sure they're taken care of, and then after they pass away, what happens to their things. So writing the wills, trusts, and all of that. So had this firm for several years now. I've been fortunate. We've had pretty rapid growth operating throughout the state of Florida as well as Tennessee. And that's, kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I'm curious, a couple of questions that talk about your background. Did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer or get into it, or was it just something that kind of happened by accident?
Nobody knows they want to be a lawyer. There's maybe like one or two of them, but no, I kind of fell into it. My background. So before I was in law school, I was in the Peace Corps, lived in Honduras for a couple of years, and no rhyme or reason. I think a lot of attorneys out there will tell you they always heard this thing in the back of their mind, or someone gave them this advice: hey, get a law degree, you can do anything with it. I don't know who says that, but it's a myth. I think most people who get a law degree end up becoming attorneys. So no, I have no lawyers in the family. It was just I honestly just kind of fell into it. So
Gotcha.
Not a great backstory, but I'm glad I made the decision.
Yeah, no, hey, that's totally okay. It's interesting to hear because everybody has a little bit of a different way getting into it. And then a follow-up question with that is, the probate law firm, probatefirm.com, you guys got some good domains and good authority just within that. So is there a reason why you picked going into probate, or, is it again just something that you kind of fell into?
A little bit of both. I definitely did not grow up knowing I wanted to be a probate attorney. And I think in law school, I don't even think I knew what probate was. I mean, there is a trust and estates class, but probate is kind of like not a word that gets thrown around a lot. So I just kind of, again, fell into it through another job I had. We were doing title work, real estate work, and I just kind of saw this market, saw probate, saw it as a niche. And I don't know, just something kind of clicked. I just kind of, I always say I'm kind of a business person first, a lawyer second. And I just saw this area, saw this kind of market where there was a need for it. There were a lot of this, I'm in Florida, so there's a lot of retiring population, aging population. So I just kind of saw something there. It was more or less standard processes. I saw that there was a way to systematize the type of work that could be done. And again, the attorneys who were practicing this and still are kind of a little bit older population, they were retiring. So I just kind of saw a market that I felt that I could step into. And that's kind of how I fell into it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think it's very important, kind of something you said there, is that a lot of lawyers, I think, if they're trying to run their own practice, they forget that they might actually need to focus on the business side of things, not just the legal side of things, because there's a lot of things that come into that. I'm glad you're able to kind of, find that opportunity. That's awesome. I would love to know how things are going and how they have been going for the last year, because a lot of people have been struggling. Seems like you talked about, you guys have had kind of some exponential growth, maybe related to some of those systems and processes you put in place. So if you wouldn't mind kind of diving into the last year, when COVID first hit, what were some changes maybe you guys had to make, and maybe what are some challenges you had to face, and how have you overcome them, and kind of where you're at right now?
Well, I'll preface our success by saying I recognize that there are probably some practice areas that, regardless to some extent of the processes that you had in place, your business was going to take a hit because of COVID. I mean, if you were doing all DUI defense, and there's a lot less people driving, and that's probably going to take a hit. Or I know a lot of trial attorneys maybe took a little bit of a dip because trials just weren't getting set, right? So, and those are some things that are a little bit outside of your control. My practice was actually kind of good, for better or for worse, because probate is dealing with people passing away, and obviously, unfortunately, COVID, there were more people passing away, and the estate planning piece of it, people through COVID saw even more so how life is short. You never know what's going to happen. So people started thinking about their own mortality, writing wills and trusts. So I recognize that, but I do think that we were set up pretty well for this. I mean, we sort of intentionally, even before COVID, we were pretty remote. So I have a team of 5, one attorney and some paralegals and support staff, and we're all remote. We're all in pretty much different cities throughout the state of Florida. Even before COVID, we do all of our consultations, or what we call strategy sessions, virtually, telephonic. We don't do any in-person meetings. So we were really kind of positioned in a good place, I guess, for as well as we could be for when this happened. So I didn't, as far as business coming in or anything like that, I did see an increase, and I think part of it was just the nature of COVID, but I also think it was a culmination of what we've been doing over the past couple of years, and like what you alluded to, setting up policies, setting up procedures, so that we were in place. So yeah, fortunately, I think, I'm not going to say COVID helped the business, because I don't think that's accurate, but I think that we were in a good position to be able to weather the storm and ride out. And we were probably, fortunately, better positioned than a lot of firms that I heard who didn't have, weren't set up remotely, didn't have all of their systems in the cloud, and all of that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I totally agree, in that just the nature of the practice, some were better. I know I've talked to a couple tax attorneys, people that focused on tax or real estate, and then because of everything that happened, they kind of switched their focus into something else because that slowed down so much. And I think being adaptable is really important. And I think you kind of, I would love to know, you were just talking a little bit more about some of the technology that you guys were using, that you were already using before COVID, and obviously that helped you kind of continue in there. So what are some of the most important technologies that you use within your law firm besides Zoom? Is it some, text messaging platform you use to communicate with clients, or, if you use Dropbox to share files, what kind of things would you recommend for another law firm that's looking to expand maybe into this type of area?
Yeah, I think technology is a big buzzword. I think you have to be careful to not just always jump to the next thing and get something else, and because it's overwhelming. There's so much stuff out there. So I think, maybe if I were to pick, let's say 2, that I think are must-haves. I think you have to have some sort of case management system, right? There's plenty of those out there. So pick one and make it work. I can tell you, so we use Clio. I'm sure there's other great ones out there. I think you'll never find one that has every feature and does everything you want it to do. So I see people, I'm in these attorney chat groups, and they're like, hey, I'm using my case. Should I switch to this? Or I'm using this one. Should I switch to this? And it's like, at the end of the day, just pick one, stick with it, unless it's just like really terrible. But I think you got to have one. We use that primarily for calendaring, for invoicing, just kind of keeping everything housed under one thing. And then the other thing I think was probably more important than that is a CRM. So some sort of client relationship management software where you keep all of your contacts, all of your clients, all of your prospects, all the people who called you and didn't convert to clients. And there's a ton of them out there. So we happen to use one that's called Keep, used to be called Infusionsoft. There's HubSpot, there's all types of different things, but you got to have something to keep in contact with people. We try to have as much contact with all of our customers, all of the people who interact with us on a regular basis. And if, in the beginning, if you don't have the money, use an Excel spreadsheet, right? But at some point you got to graduate to something else. And then if you can segment those lists, for example, as an attorney, you're probably getting a lot of your business from attorneys. And so if you're a family law attorney. Maybe most of your business comes from bankruptcy attorneys. I don't know, making it up. So it would be good if you had a list of all of your attorneys, and then you could segment the list by bankruptcy attorney, so that if you want to reach out just to your bankruptcy attorneys, you can do an email campaign just to them. And so you need some, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you can do marketing campaigns. There's so many different things. We put everybody in there, which gives us a pretty healthy, customer and just contact list that we can go to and communicate with. So that those would probably be, we use Dropbox, you use Zoom, you use Outlook, you use, Zapier to connect apps. I mean, there's so many different things that you can use. But if I were to just for purpose of this, pick two, get a case management software and get a CRM.
Yeah, I think those are very important for sure. And I don't know if we really had too many people talk about the value of a CRM before, but I know that it's super valuable. I'm glad you do, because it's important, because I know some people, they don't even have a place where they can keep those people. And like you said, a lot of times maybe somebody isn't ready to become a client immediately and they need a little bit of follow-up, or it's good, like you said, to keep those other referral sources back there. And the more detailed, the more segmented you can get, obviously, the more effective the marketing will be for sure. And when you were just talking about it, I'd love to know, with all of this kind of modern stuff you're doing, it kind of begs the question, because I know a lot of attorneys, when it comes to getting new clients, obviously referrals are pretty much the best way to go, but there's a lot of other methods out there that I know people are doing. And since you guys seem to be quite forward thinking in your marketing strategies, are you doing any outbound type online marketing strategies, or just billboards or marketing strategies in general to try and get clients? Or is all of the stuff you're doing just once the people kind of come into your sphere?
The magic question: how do you get more clients? So it's I think referrals are huge, right? No way around that. But in my experiences, depending on what your goals are, right? There's plenty of attorneys who I think can just stick with referrals. But I think, in my experience, I got burnt out on going to 5 networking events a week, 5 lunches a week. It just gets tiring, right? You can do it for a little while and it does work, and you've got to build relationships that way. But you can't deny that whether or not you're doing paid Google ads, paid Facebook ads, whatever, you can use all of these platforms, paid or unpaid, to stay in front of your referral sources, right? So yeah, we do a lot of different stuff. We do e-newsletters, print newsletters, we do speaking engagements, we do conferences, we do Facebook ads, we do Google ads. I have my own podcast. So we do a ton of different stuff. But what I would say is do it all, but don't do it all at the same time. Pick 1 or 2, get really good at it where you've got a great system for it. And then once you're confident with that and you've got it working and it's set up and it's running, move on to something else. So when I started, I didn't, most people don't have the budget, a $5,000 a month Google ads budget when you first start out. And even if you do, that might not be the first place that you want to start. So I think, especially if you're starting out, start with the referral sources, get known in your community, network with your group, get involved, maybe your alumni association. There's all different types of networking events that you can get, groups that you can get involved in. And then as you evolve, add different types of stuff in it. But one of the things that, more and more I'm becoming a believer in is, at some point, you're going to have a good network, right? You're going to have hundreds, maybe thousands of people that know you and like you, but you can't do lunches with them every single day. But put stuff out there on social media, unpaid stuff. Put yourself out there on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever it is, and your audience will see it. Those people that you already have connections with, people that are not cold lists, they'll see you, and you just stay top of mind. And I think that's been huge for us. Huge for me is that, again, I've got a pretty big network, but I can't do breakfast with everybody all the time. So by putting ourselves out there, again, whether it's an e-newsletter, whether it's something in social media, and having them see you has been huge, because you stay top of mind with them.
Yeah. I think that's very important. Yeah. And, it's keeping on top of mind because, some people might think, oh, why didn't this person remember to contact me? Or maybe I talked to them 3 months ago and now they need an attorney, but they work with somebody else. What the heck? But a lot of times, people aren't reaching out to you for ill intentions. They might just not be thinking about you right now. So staying on top of mind, like you said, is super crucial so that people are actively actually, seeing you. Even like you said, if it's just simple posts on Facebook, that might be all it needs to be. And there's a lot of strategies for sure. And I think kind of having an omni-channel approach where you're in different, areas is important. But like what you said, you need to figure out what areas work best for your business because some people might think, oh, I need to be on every social media platform, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, when it's in reality, if, for example, for your business, I'm not sure if you're doing anything on TikTok, but it probably wouldn't make the most sense for you guys just because of your audience. It's not like you're reaching out to the young 20s or the 18, 15-year olds as much, maybe. And I think it's important for different law firms to figure out where their ideal customers might be. And then that's where they need to be as well, for sure.
Yeah,
So
agreed. Identify your ideal client and go where they are.
definitely. So Justin, I don't only want to ask a couple more questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to kind of recenter a little bit more about your business and your law firm itself. So when it comes to a probate lawyer, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you see in the area? Because obviously there's a lot of competition out there. There's probably a lot of people that, people could contact, but what are some of the biggest misconceptions you see? Because I could kind of think of some myself. Oh, I'm only 30 years old. I don't need to be thinking about an estate plan, etc.
Yeah. So if you're talking about, why people could need us, should need us, do need us, yeah, I mean, it depends. So everyone arguably could have a will, could have something in place. I think, um, where I see a need where maybe people don't think about it as much is younger families, newly married couple, they've got young kids under the age of 18. We don't like to think about it, but what happens if something happens to both of those parents, right? Who would become the legal guardian of their children? So even if you've got no money, right? Even if, because I hear that all the time, oh, I don't need to do a plan because I don't, I have $1,000, I have $500 in the bank account. Okay, great. If you got minor children, probably need it. If you have $500 in a bank account, you probably don't need a will because and that's it. But there's other documents that we do while that you might need while you're still alive. So, who can make medical decisions for you if you're unable to. So there's a lot of stuff. I think it's worth the conversation. And what I tell people is, what you're not planning for, like, are you planning on staying in your same circumstance where you are right now? Or do you have goals? Do you have plans? Do you want to be somewhere else in the future, both personally, professionally, financially? Then let's not talk about where you are right now. Let's talk about where you want to be. And then we'll create a plan that will grow with you so that when you become that person, you've got everything already set up. So that's why it's kind of, you begin the conversation from that point. And I think people get that a little bit more, as opposed to, yeah, if you're 18 years old, you've got your first job or second job, you just open your own checking account. Well, what are you going to leave to anybody? Probably nothing. But I'm assuming you don't want to have that same financial resources when you're, 45. So
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think if people should definitely think of it on a long-term scale. Like you said, I think that kind of is a good way to put it in the proper perspective. Like, oh, you probably aren't going to be working at McDonald's for the next 30 years of your life, are you? You need to kind of be planning for the future. And you must have read my mind or something, because that segues perfectly into my next question, which is what your plans are for the future. So with the probate law firm, you guys said you're kind of having some growth, which is awesome. And you seemed like you are going into other areas maybe of the country. So what are the goals for for your law firm? Where are you guys looking to go in the end of 2021 and into 2022?
yeah, I think, growth for the sake of growth isn't maybe necessarily the best strategy, but I think, growth because it allows us to help more people. It allows us to kind of elevate, give more resources to our clients things that we're able to do. So, some of the ideas that I just have is, within our services that we're already providing, I'd like to be able to, I think we're already kind of providing upper tier quality level of service, all of that sort of stuff. But there's just kind of like some side ancillary services that I'd like to be able to provide kind of a more well-rounded wealth preservation service to potential clients. So I know that's a little bit broad because I don't want to roll everything out that we're doing, but yeah, I think we'll expand. I mean, candidly, one of my ideas pre-COVID was multiple offices, multiple cities and everything, but I have found it works better and the clients seem to prefer a lot more that remote service.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're still servicing the entire state. It's still very feasible what we're doing. So I don't know if the future will entail more offices or we just kind of keep this remote model because it seems to be working and the clients seem to be liking it. Now, I think there is a little bit more shift to back to normal where people are like, hey, I want to go see people, but I don't think people wanting to see people is, oh, I want to go sit in an attorney's office. So I think people want to get out, but they don't necessarily want to come see us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that makes sense. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how many people, and how many law firms, I should say, are really going to shift back into the traditional model. But if it's working for you guys, that's great. And I wish you the best of the luck in the future. And my final question for you today, Justin, and I really appreciate your time today, is what is one final piece of advice you would give to maybe some young lawyers or just some lawyers that are struggling right now to maybe get off on their own? You've shared a lot of valuable pieces today and I really appreciate it. But if you could think of one more kind of nugget, what would you share?
Man, I think don't overthink it, right? And I think because I think there is a lot of truth in the paralysis by analysis, which definitely as attorneys, we're very analytical. We like to have the end in mind. And in running a business, you can plan for it, but it's not a straight line, right? You're going to, zigzag your way to success, whatever success looks like to you. And so I think the first step is, map out what that success looks to you. Like, what do you want? What's the end goal? Are you just doing it because you're doing it? Like, is it more money? Is it more time? Is it more, whatever it is, like what professional accolades, whatever it is, map that out and then just come up with a plan and do it. And I think that there's so many tools, there's so many resources out there that can help you, that can be overwhelming. Just pick one and just go with it and allow yourself, so long as you're moving, I think you'll get there if you kind of know where you're going and why you're doing it. And so for me, it's just like make a decision and go after it. And so that's what I would say, because I think a lot of people just kind of get stuck as far as like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to keep doing this. And, if I keep doing a good job, the clients will come. And maybe, but, do you want that success, 30 years from now, or do you want it 5 years from now? So, and I think that's where, the people who are a little bit more aggressive and just kind of going after it and making those decisions now will get that success a lot quicker.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think, honestly, I think it's, the quicker you can fail and learn what doesn't work, probably the quicker you'll be able to find something that does work. Cause I think kind of like what you said, a lot of people they get that paralysis analysis by paralysis. But they do that because they're scared of failing. So they, don't want to try anything because they think, oh, it might fail. But it's a quick saying, but you want to go fast and break things. And the quicker you can do that, I think the quicker you can find success for sure.
100%.
Well, thank you, Justin. Thank you everybody for watching. If anybody wants to learn more about you, Justin, and your law firm, where would be the best place for them to contact you?
Yeah, for the firm, just go to probatefirm.com, and then on all social media channels, just my name, Justin Stivers.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching this episode, and we will see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.